Okay, Manchester United have announced that they're going to replace Old Trafford and they're going to build a brand new stadium in the same area of Greater Manchester, in the Trafford area. It's going to cost £2 billion at current estimate and seat up to 100,000 fans. Now, the last time Old Trafford had any development to it was in 2006, and we know that the stadium is in not the best state of upkeep and repair. There are a lot of issues with the stadium, and there just hasn't been the investment in the stadium for 19 years. And it is regularly criticised for the fan experience. Now, last week, Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave that interview where he basically said that the club is going to run out of money by Christmas and that further cost cutting and staff redundancies are going to have to take place. The club is also £1 billion in debt, so I don't know how they're going to fully fund this new stadium. They haven't announced how they're going to get the funding. There has been rumours circulating that some, if not all of the funding, may come from the British taxpayer, and that's probably not going to go down well. Now, what we do know is they've estimated the cost of the new stadium at £2 billion, and that's going to seat 100,000 people. The renderings, I mean, I'm not keen on the look of the stadium. It looks like a circus tent, personally. However, these are renderings. The design probably will change. What we also know is that it's going to create jobs in the construction industry as well as other industries. There's going to be housing development and business development as well, and infrastructure, that's transport development alongside this new stadium. It does have government approval. The government is backing the plan for this new stadium. The question, as I say, the question I have is who is going to fund it? Because if what Jim Ratcliffe says is true, in as he's the minority owner of the club, and if what he says is true, that there's going to have to be further cost cutting, and bearing in mind the club has just made 500 non-playing staff redundant in two batches over the last 6-7 months. They are cutting costs. They've done the costing of refurbing and upgrading Old Trafford, which is ironically cheaper than building the new stadium. They've estimated the upgrade costs to stay at Old Trafford would be around £1 to £1.5 billion. The new stadium is costed at £2 billion. So it's an interesting one. They've decided to go down this path. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for certain. But they've submitted proposals. But as I say, it's not that they shouldn't build a new stadium. Many clubs have decided to, instead of redeveloping their current stadiums, build brand new ones. It happens up and down the land. It happens across Europe. They have been at Old Trafford since 1910. It's seen better days. But as I say, the concern I have is how they're going to fund it. They haven't been clear on where the funding is going to come from. How much money, hypothetically, will come from the British taxpayer? Will it all be privately funded? These are the massive unknowns, and it's already dividing opinion with the Manchester United fan base, but the wider sporting fan base and the wider British public. Now, yes, as I say, the government has given backing to the proposal because of the development in Greater Manchester that's going to come with it, and the economic development that's going to come with it. They've compared it to the Olympic Village and the London Stadium for the Olympics. They've also compared it to what the Commonwealth Games did in Manchester in the build-up to 2002, where the Etihad now stands. They have compared it to similar sporting projects in the past, where a new stadium and surrounding developments and infrastructure are built and investment comes into a city or an area of a city. So Stratford, for example, that part of East London has been completely transformed over the last 2 decades, where Manchester City's Etihad Stadium is the former Manchester Commonwealth Stadium. Again, the amount of investment into that area of Manchester at the time and ongoing. Yes, there is that argument. And yes, taxpayer money was used in the construction of these sporting infrastructure projects. But at the same time, that was for an Olympics and a Commonwealth Games. Then you have the legacy projects. That's why Man City gets the Etihad. That's why West Ham gets the London Olympic Stadium. And there's therefore that legacy. And people will compare that taxpayer money was used for that. Some taxpayer money was used for the rebuild of Wembley, for example. And we can debate the pros and cons of Wembley Stadium. But as I say, Manchester United and their board have not been clear on who's going to fund it. That's the main problem. The fact they want to replace Old Trafford's not a bad thing. They have stated that they are going to stay there until the new stadium is completed. They're aiming for a 5 to 7 year time frame, I believe. They could start construction tomorrow, is what they're basically hinting at. And But they, as I say, haven't announced how they're going to fund it. And that's the concern, is where the money's going to come from. Because if this is true, it's going to cost 2 billion. This club's already a billion in debt, it's losing money for the fifth consecutive year, and there are warnings about the finances to the club going forward. So where's that money going to come from? But there we go. Manchester United have announced a replacement for Old Trafford. It's the cost that's eye-watering, and it's the capacity that's a bit eye-watering. 100,000 seater stadium. They're going to aim to make it the biggest stadium in the UK and one of the biggest in Europe. Do we really need a 100,000 seater stadium? Potentially, but it's that cost, and who's going to pay for it? But there we go. Manchester United have announced this replacement for Old Trafford. It'll be interesting if it actually, if and when it does get built, if it looks anything like the renderings, or if they change the design, because designs do change, and how much it actually will cost in the end. Because 2 billion is at an estimate now, and I have no doubt that cost will balloon. And I'm not sure the wider British public will be quite as happy to fork out even more of taxpayer money for a stadium for a private entity, which is Manchester United. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on Manchester United's proposals for a new stadium in the comments section below. It already has divided opinion on social media since the announcement was made this morning, and we'll see how it turns out. But for me for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.